Dan Peck, ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. Coach, it's your first year in the SEC without Coach Saban after his retirement. I'm curious about your relationship with Coach Saban. Have you reached out to him much after he's stepped down, and also does it feel different going into this league this season with a new head coach at Alabama?
No, I have a great relationship with Coach Saban, and as I referenced in the big room, I pay so much respect and so much, just credit to what I learned, because people forget that it wasn't the 9 years at Alabama. It was the 1 year at LSU and the 1 year at the Dolphins. So to have 11 years to work for what is the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time, in my opinion, and it's not really close because of the time in which he did it. It was a lot of, what's the right word? It was a very competitive environment. It was not like a single team dominance, and he dominated for a long time. So we have a great relationship. Obviously, we communicate more now than we did in the past as we were competitors, but there's always been a mutual respect and a lot of appreciation, and probably more now seeing him, at the ESPYs and seeing him on TV and seeing the things he's doing to give back and be the torchbearer. I just have a lot of respect for him.
Left side, third row.
Coach Daryl Dapprich with the Locked On Network. Kind of give us a little insight as to the process on how maybe a homecoming opponent is selected. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a firestorm with Auburn, the deepest, oldest South's rivalry being your homecoming opponent from the Auburn side. Kind of wanted to get a little bit of a peel back the curtain on how that process and how you choose your homecoming opponents.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I get the schedule just like everybody does. And, other than, your non-conference games, you have to go try to schedule those out 10 years in advance, which is an impossible hurdle. But I had no idea that was even the case. So when you say peel back the curtain, I have no idea how that's selected or what goes into it.
Right side on the end.
Hey, Coach. Michael Bronner, WNSP in Mobile. The AJC report said that there were 24 driving-related arrests and incidents surrounding Georgia football since that January 2023 tragedy. Why does this keep happening, and what are you specifically doing to address it?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is disappointed. Anytime you have a situation like that, you want your kids, your players, to make better decisions. And I always say you can't be outcome related, and I'm very disappointed in the outcomes, but I am very pleased with our process we've put in terms of education, driver safety, requiring defensive driving, education, talking about it, having leaders stand up and talk about it, bringing speakers in and talk about it, suspending players, dismissing players, which we've done. I don't know to this point any coach in college football that suspended a player for a driving citation. We have. And we've also dismissed players based on driving citations. Nobody's done that. So hopefully they get the idea and the information, but we have a really good locker room, and I feel really good about that. Like, I love the players we have. I love the locker room we have. We have good kids. We got 45 kids yesterday battling breast cancer golf tournament to raise money. So we got kids that go to Camp Sunshine, the entire team. We do a lot of good things, but not representative of what we want when they make mistakes like that.
Left side, fourth row.
Hey, Coach. Ben Bobick, Local 3 News in Chattanooga. Cole Spear is someone that's been in your program for a few years. When Malachi was in here, he sort of perked up when I brought him up, just how much of a leader he's grown into. And he talked about how excited he is to see the role he's going to step into for the team this year. Have you seen him grown into that leader, and what is that role maybe this year that you foresee him stepping into?
He's just such a hard worker. Everybody loves Cole. He's first of all, he's tough. He's physical. He plays on special teams. He might not be the most dominant wideout. He's not a guy that's just going to win off the line every time, but he gives you great work ethic day in and day out. He holds the standard high in that room. He started contributing more and more on special teams last year. He's been able to stay healthy. He's had some hamstring issues. He's a really fast guy, and that's his weapon on special teams is his speed. But I love working with Cole. He's another great example of, we talk about our locker room. I love our locker room. I love the culture we have of our kids, and he's indicative of that.
Right side, front row, and then pass the mic to the aisle, please.
Coach, Steve Moulton, WZZN in Huntsville, Alabama. Coming out of spring, what do you like most about this team in particular, and what's your biggest question heading into the fall?
I don't know, Steve. Coming out of spring, I loved the practice environment, the competitive nature between the offense and defense, the battles we had on the field. Like the practices were very spirited, it seemed like, and I enjoy that. I think when you have good spirited practices, they get more out of them, and it doesn't feel like this mundane, boring work. So I really like that. As far as areas we got to work on, I mean, the depth of the defensive line, I don't think anybody in the country will tell you they got enough depth. I don't think we have enough depth. We don't have a great depth at offensive line, where years past we were probably 2 and 3 deep. Right now we have a very experienced offensive line, but we don't have a deep offensive line. So some of that's been attrition, some of that's been portal. You have to continue to create depth, because you don't know when it's going to glare its head within the season.
Second row on the right.
Shahan J. Rogers from CBS Sports. Coach, I was amused a little by your NIL joke out there. I'm curious, what's kind of the state in your mind of NIL at Georgia?
You lost me there in the beginning. You said my NIL what?
The joke about Nike and Dan Lanning.
About Dan Lanning having the treasure chest to open up and get whatever he wants. Yeah, but what was your question directly about?
Yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on the state of NIL at Georgia right now.
I think it's in a good place. I mean, our kids are competitive, and you know, we are different than most. We have a system that is, we believe you come in and you work your way up. You don't come in and make more money than starters. And philosophically, we stand by that. And if that costs us a player, we think we win in culture, because we don't want players that feel like there's an entitlement for a freshman coming in. And I think a lot of schools made that mistake early on, 3-4 years ago. And you could have some upset locker rooms. We're going to err on the side of you earn what you get, and the more you stay and play and contribute, the more opportunity you get at NIL, and that's kind of the state of our NIL.
We'll go to the aisle here in the second row.
Hey, Coach. Jonathan Hoppy with WTVM in Columbus. You mentioned Micah Williams and his versatility. What do you see from him, and maybe a different role in the defense this year, and what do you think he can bring in that new role?
Well, he's very versatile. He's very talented. He played defensive end, which would be a 5 technique, 9 technique, 6 technique, 4-eye, all that for us last year. He'll continue to do that. We think he gives us the versatility to go outside and set edges and create plays. We've got more depth now at some spots inside that we can bump him out. He's athletic enough to play and stand up, but he's also big enough to go and battle and fit up on some big tackles. So we're lucky to have him. We need more guys like him, but better than anything he does on the field is his work ethic off the field and what he stands for. I enjoy having Michael around and what he brings to our team.
We'll go here on the front row.
Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Podcast Network. Talk about Carson Beck. Had a great season a year ago, but where do you feel he can, if at all, still improve going into year 2 as the starter in this offensive system?
Well, his approach to watching tape, finding out what defenses do, knowing what they're doing before it happens, the approach he has to our defense. You know, he can instill confidence in our defense, where last year I think he was focused on what he did for our offense. He can be an overall factor for both sides of the ball this year and really help the confidence of the defense.
Front row.
Coach Eric Bailey with Tulsa World. When Georgia played Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl, all offense, no defense, Brent Venables is turning things around. Can you talk a little bit about the job Brent's doing at Oklahoma and what Oklahoma brings to the SEC now that they joined the league?
Yeah, the great traditions, what they bring, tradition-rich history. What a tremendous job Brent did at Clemson as a defensive coordinator, and you can see those same elements, those same characteristics of toughness, attacking. He's going to always be good on defense. He knows defense. He understands how to attack offenses. So as he gets the players he's recruiting more and more in there, they're going to be a dominant defensive football team. And I think that's kind of, SEC has always been known for really good defenses, and he brings another one with him.
Left side, second row.
Coach Davis Baker, WSFA in Montgomery. Out of all the battles you've had with Alabama, you've only played them once in the regular season, which was COVID year, limited capacity. What's it like preparing to go to a place like Bryant-Denny that will feel likely like a playoff game?
I'm not going to be dismissive of going to play at Bryant-Denny. It's hard. But when you play on the road in the SEC, everywhere is hard. I mean, it is just difficult to play. The passion and energy on road games, people don't. Go ask a veteran SEC coach about road wins. there are only good wins. There are no bad wins. And it's not any different when you go to Tuscaloosa. It's a hard place to play. The passion, the energy, the players on the field, they're all good. And that's a challenge that we kind of embrace that. We love that. We like going on the road. We like being the one against the many. And I think you have to embrace it.
Right side, third row.
Hey, Kirby, Brett McMurphy with Action Network. When you were at Alabama, Nick took some chances on bringing in some assistant coaches that had some issues in the past. I talked to Lane about it, obviously Sark. Now that he's gone, do you see any current head coaches that will kind of fill that role and maybe bring people in to give them a chance, try to give them a second chance to kind of revitalize their career like Nick did?
Yeah, I don't know specifically that I can say somebody that would do that, but I think every coach, deserves that opportunity. I mean, we're human. We make mistakes. Things happen. I mean, people get second chances all the time in most professions. So I certainly am glad that Nick did, because it started my relationship with Lane, who I have immense respect for and enjoyed getting to know, and have even enjoyed more. Our relationship has grown since the time we spent at Alabama together. So I think it's a good thing, and I think Nick started it. To say who's going to carry that torch or carry that banner, I don't know that.
Left side on the aisle.
Coach, Carter Yates with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Now that there's a second Texas university in the SEC, does that change the geography of your recruiting process at all?
No. I mean, we've recruited Texas for a long time. Texas is great high school football. We've had a lot of starters that have come to play for us from Texas. Obviously, Texas and Texas A&M can't sign all the good football players in this state. They're going to go to other places. So it's geographically, it's bigger than the entire SEC. The size of it is just humongous. So we're going to continue to recruit it, regardless of 2, 3, 4 teams in the league.
We only have time for 2 more questions. We go on the right side on the aisle.
Coach Billy Jones, George Blaster Show, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm curious, London Humphreys, you guys had him from Vanderbilt through the portal. Was he a guy you guys ID'd at the high school level, or just something that you guys kind of saw as you were scouting Vanderbilt, and in that game last year that you thought he could be a contributor? Talk about maybe how you found him and what you think he'll add to the team next year.
Yeah, excited about what he can do for us. Wonderful family, 2 athletes as parents. And once he went in the portal, it was an area that we needed some help in. We were losing a lot of wideouts, senior-laden group, and he provides depth at that position, and he's a really good football player and an excellent person, and we're excited to have him.
Final question over here on the left.
Hey, Kirby, Zach Klein, Channel 2 in Atlanta. With the iPads now being allowed during games, how will you take advantage of that? Could it be information overload, and what do you hope to get out of that new technology allowed on game days?
Yeah, I think quicker feedback to the players. Visually, they see things better than when you draw them up. So I don't know that it'll be as big an asset for coaches as it will be for players. We tend to get good information from up top, our guys that are up top watching it, but getting to show that information to players will be critical. I think the implementation of that is really critical for us as coaches, because coaches are not always technologically savvy, and we've got to really practice that to be good at it. A lot of times our players are better at doing those things than us, so the implementation of that will be critical.